What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 1 of Road to World Record. I'm going to be doing a 7-part series with each video containing somewhere between 3 to 4 FMC solves. 6 of these episodes are going to be official means I have gotten that I consider noteworthy between when I first started seriously competing with DR and HTR all the way up to when I got world record. I've already done the world record recon video, obviously. I wasn't going to make you all wait for that one. But I'll be now kind of catching up on reconstruction videos that I probably should have done up until now. One of the videos towards the end will not be an official mean, but it'll be my PB at home mean of 3. And I won't spoil what it is, I'm sure some people know, but we will get to that when it comes. So before I get into these solves from Turning in Townsville 2022, I do want to say that this was not technically my first official mean with DR. I did one at the Townsville competition the year before. However, I was not very good at DR, like I wasn't doing very much HTR. I didn't really know a whole lot outside of like the very basics, and even then it was kind of dicey. And I've also lost the solutions just to time, like I never really saved them. I don't think the solves were any good. I think I got a 23 on the last one, but then the other 2 were just horrible attempts. So with that, we will be starting with my second DR mean in comp, and the first one where I kind of had some idea what I was doing. And the mean was a DNF because of the second solve where I didn't get a solution, and then the first and last were 23 and 24 respectively. So with most of that preamble out of the way, I guess the last thing I'll mention is like skill-wise at the time I was probably like a move or like a little more than a move worse than I currently am, like at my peak skill. So this series should hopefully give you an idea of kind of what I learned along the way. So with that, I think that's enough preamble. 2 minutes is plenty. We will just get into the first solve. So for this first one, I did an ear on FB axis. This was 6 bad, and this was on the inverse scramble. We had 3 bad here in the front, 1 in the S slice here, and then 2 just in the back here. So for this one, I did F to give 4 bad, and then just U prime, R2, and then B, and that was a 4-move EO. It gave me instant DR minus 4C4E, and it's actually kind of an interesting case because the way you optimally solve it is you do a move to give 7C8E, and then you do the 7C8E case. And there's 2 different ways you can do it. So this gave me 2 9-move DRs. One was 2 quarter turn, but like the bad 2 quarter turn 4C4E, and then the other one was some sort of 4 quarter turn. I didn't really know HTR subsets like that well at the time. Like I really had a lot of gaps in my knowledge, and I think with that info I probably could have done a lot better on these solves. But what I did in the actual attempt was I did a U to give the 7C8E case, and then the way I followed up in the solve, I'm just checking my notes on the other side of the room, I did an L, so that would be this, and then U prime, L, and then D, and that gave me a 9-move DR, and it's bad 2 quarter turn because it looks like 1 quarter turn, and it's 4C4E, which is the best one you can get within that subset, but I don't know if I fully appreciated that at the time. Anyways, after that I switched to the normal scramble, and the corners were already set up to make a quarter turn of progress, and I was able to do that with R prime. And then you can solve this case a bunch of different ways. You can do like F2, you can do U2, and then 4 more moves after that. In the solve, I did F2, L2, and then you have a choice between B2 and F2 because the edges are in like a symmetrical position. In the solve, I did B2, and then D2, and then L. And then from here, I did kind of a scuffed finish, I think. Because the last move on inverse was a D turn, I knew I could do like sort of a double slice reduction type thing on the U and D layers, mostly because the R and L layers looked pretty horrible. So what I ended up doing, it was something like U2, R2, and then you get like this floppy reduction case, and then D2, F2, R2, F2. And then when I did the rewrite to like change the U and D moves, I ended up getting a 23. So that's what I did in the attempt. And one thing that I failed to realize, so let's just undo the moves on the DR side. So D, L prime, U, L prime, something like this, just to get a general idea. So one thing I was aware of but forgot to check during the attempt is you have a choice between like doing this setup and this setup. I found both of those, but I forgot to account for the symmetry of this slice, so I could like insert this for 2 minus 1 to give 2 additional 10 move DRs. And one of these actually has a 21 optimal, which I'm going to just show, but I don't think it's like that easy to find. So this is what it looks like on the normal scramble. So it's the same corners as the DR I used, but it's 4C, 6E instead, which is actually quite a bit worse. But it still would have been worth checking because I don't think I found much else on this attempt. And the optimal solution goes something like L prime to make a quarter turn of progress and give 4C, 6E. So it's not quite 1/4 turn, it's sort of like almost like a regression to 3/4 turn. And then you can do B2 and then R. And that gives you 2/4 turn, like the good 2/4 turn 4C2E, which is the best case. And then from here, if you switch, the cube looks like this. And you can set up the trigger in 2 moves by doing L2, D2, and then R prime U2R, and then it's just 3 more moves to slice on the R and L layers with B2, D2, F2, because it's already kind of set up to floppy reduction, like so. And then you can rewrite the slice and solve it in 0 moves to give a 21. Overall, I don't really mind that I missed it, but I do believe there were probably at least a handful of 22s that were quite findable. Probably on the 4/4 turn DRs rather than the 2/4 turn ones, which is kind of weird to think about, but oftentimes more quarter turns doesn't tell the whole story. So that's the first one. We will now get into the second attempt. For the second attempt, I got a DNF, but the DR I had actually had a pretty findable 23, and it kind of hurt to miss it big time at the time because, I'd been practicing a lot for the competition. It was my first showing with DR, my first real showing, and, I couldn't even get a mean, so that kind of sucked. This scramble was really bad, though. It was 8 bad, 8 bad, 6 bad. I think there were a couple former videos without NIS that I found, but at the time I wasn't very good at, like, NIS EOs. In general, I only did, like, very basic NIS EO strategies, so there's a chance I might have missed some additional 4-move EOs that way. Either way, this was the type of scramble where it was a good idea to check 5-move EOs, which I guess was fine because at the time I was a little bit more reliant on 5-move EOs than I am nowadays, but still just wasn't enough. Like I said, I really did not find much this attempt. I don't think I found any 11-move DRs, or if I did, they had like such bad subsets that, even with my current knowledge, I might not have wanted to check them. Anyways, for this scramble, I did the white front axis, which was 6 bad. You have 3 here, 2 there, and then 1 in the back. This can be done in 4 moves without NIS, but I didn't get anywhere with it. So I just did a U to reduce to 4 bad, and it didn't give like a great case. It was 4 more moves to EO, because you've got like 1 bad edge on like the EO turning face, and then 3 in the S slice relative. So it was 4 more moves, but again, during the attempt, I just had so little that I was willing to check stuff like this. From here, I switched, and as you can see, the 4 bad edges are placed as so, and there's only one way to do this in 4 more moves. R prime, B prime, L prime, U. And here I saw I instantly have DR minus 4C4E, not a good case or anything. So I switched. And on the other side of the scramble, it's still not a very good case, but again, I was kind of getting desperate, so I just wanted to check something. It looked blocky here, so I tried setting up to 4C4E with a B turn, and it actually worked. I believe in the attempt I did B prime instead of B, although when you do B, you get a good case here as well, which I might have actually missed, honestly. I think it's like 5 or 6 more moves to DR. But I did a B prime, and then the setup from here is actually really interesting. You can do, for these types of like 2-pair offset corners cases, you can often set up to like 4C2E or 4C6E. So I did R and then B, and that gives you 4 more moves to DR with 4C2E. And then you can do L prime, and then there's 2 ways to do this in 3 more moves. You can either do that, or you can do that. And you'll sort of notice that as I do those, the corners become solved. So once I found this, which I think was like 40 minutes in, I thought I had a chance to save the attempt because these DRs tend to be quite short on average when it comes to optimal finishes. Obviously it depends like a little bit on the HTR subsets, but generally speaking, like if you've got solved corners, you're often in for a good time. But I got nothing. I don't even have like a backup skeleton to show, so I'm just going to show you the optimal finish. And the variant that works for the optimal is you do the kind of the wider variation, so it's like B, U2, B, I believe. And then the HTR subset is, if you do a slice, it's 0 corners, 4 edges, where you just kind of set up to like an R, E2, R prime from this axis, or like U, M2, U sort of thing. And then from here, the HTR that gives the winning finish is you do R2, B2, and then you do an R, and that sets up the case. So like, as you can sort of see here, it's the like UM to U sort of thing. Yeah, so I did R. Well, I didn't do R. I should have done R. I wish I did R, and then you can do F2, B2, R prime. And you can see that it gives quite a blocky case for the U and D layers. And if you'll remember, the last move on normal was, it was either a U or a D tone because it's a UD axis EO, which means there is possible to do double slice reduction stuff. Again, at the time, I wasn't very good at this sort of thing. But even if I found this DR, there's like a chance I missed the 23 from it. But the optimal finish from here is you just do like a B2 to make this square, and then you can sort of see it's like F2, L2, D2 leave slice, but you have to solve these edges at the same time, and the way to do that is U prime D, R2, F2, and then the U move is like a -2, so it's like 25 without cancels, but then gives a 23. And that was from a 12 move DR, by the way, so an 11 move finish is like sort of like as lucky as you can reasonably expect. It's like a 1 in 14 chance, I believe, for DR state to be 11 or less optimal. So it's lucky, but not like crazy luck or anything. But that's all I have to show for solve number 2. For the final solve, I got a 24, and to be honest, going into this attempt, I was kind of tempted to just like YOLO, try to look for like a 20 or better. But I don't know, even in spite of the DNF, I decided to take the attempt somewhat seriously. Which I think was probably the right call. It was better practice that way. I sort of ended up doing that YOLO strat at New Zealand Nationals, which was the other time I DNF'd when like coming back to FMC in like a serious capacity. But I was a lot more tilted at New Zealand. I'm not going to be showing that meme because I think I've lost the solutions anyways, and there wasn't much to show. It was just like a really bad set of scrambles. Anyways, that's kind of irrelevant. This solve, I don't remember what the EO layout was, but I just remember doing a really cool EO for 8-bad. I did this one on the UD axis, and the case we have here is we have the 4 good edges here, 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 and here. And you can sort of see you can do like a D to give 4-bad and then do some stuff. I didn't see anything from that, so what I did was I actually did a U move to give a different 8-bad case, and then this can be solved in 4 more moves. You can just do like a 1 move setup with R, and then it's kind of the 3 move case where you do like D or D prime and then F prime and then U. In the solve I did D, F prime, U, so this was a 5 move EO with that kind of cool trick. And it instantly gave me DR minus 4C4E, which is great. And there's sort of like 2 ways to solve it. The first move is always D2, but then you either like do like an R, then B2, and then 3 more moves, or you can do like R prime L2, and then sort of account for like this AUDF thing in advance. The one I did in the solve was I didn't account for the, oh no, sorry, I did account for the AUF thing in advance. So it was something like this, and that gave a 11 move DR with 2 quarter turn corners, 4C4E. I think at the time I wasn't very good at dealing with this case. Like if I didn't see a half turn setup to like the 4-move trigger, I sort of struggled to like find much off of these sorts of cases. And I'll show the optimal that I missed and sort of an instructive moment from that. Anyways, after the DR I switched, and to make a quarter turn of progress, I did F2 and then R'. So as you can sort of see, F2 R' gives 1 quarter turn 4C 4E. I think there's even like a short solution on this side of the scramble, but I don't think it gave me anything. Like, this doesn't look great. I don't know. Anyways, from there I switched, and this is kind of the case I had. And to solve this, I did... Okay, I know what I did. I made these like sort of 2 columns while accounting for the E-slice. You can either do U2 or D2 because of these edges. I don't know if I even noticed that at the time, but I did U2, B2 like so, and it sets up the bars. You can also insert U2 or D2 here, which I think I did know at the time, but I just did R2, D2, R, like so. And then these left and right layers are actually pretty easy. You can sort of make a bunch of blocks quite quickly. I think it's something like this. Yeah, you do those 2 moves and then 1, 2, 3, and that leaves slice in 23. But there was no way to rewrite the slice in 0 moves, which was really sad. So I got 24 for the attempt. This is what the scramble looks like on normal with the other variation of the DR, which is HTR equivalent. And the HTR I missed that leads to the optimal 23 is, it's sort of the same first 2 moves. Well, yeah, it is the same first 2 moves. It's like F2 and then L' instead of R'. And the solution here is you essentially, you first account for these edges by doing like an F2 or B2. And in this case, the optimal one uses B2. And then you can do like a U2, F2, B2, R thing. But you have to insert an R2 beforehand, which is definitely something I would have checked. So something like that. And then here the finish is very simple. You already have this square here, and you can just make 1 like so. And then you don't even have to rewrite the slice if you happen to check this version of it. And that would have given me a 23. So overall thoughts for the mean. Had I found optimal from all 3, it would have been a 22.3 mean. However, the first one, I think, realistically, that 21 isn't... It's like borderline human findable. I think 22 is more of a reasonable expectation there. But the other 2, I think the optimals are quite findable. Especially the... I mean, it's kind of redundant, but yeah, especially the last 2. Especially the second one. The second one, even now, still kind of hurts, but it's whatever. It cost me 1 gold medal. Who cares? That's it for this video. The next episode in this series is going to be going over my Australian Nationals 2022 mean, and that was a 22.3 PR, which actually has some painful moments as well, so get excited for that. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.